Yeah, I got in the same argument with my therapist. She's like, it's not the end of the world if you don't get sleep. I'm like, I'm going to fucking murder someone the next day. I'm not like, hey, let's sit down and try to figure out how to arrange music.
Winners use drugs.
So I was talking with a close friend recently about how I need to diversify my friend group because it's too fucking white now.
Oh, yeah.
It's too fucking white. And like, when in high school, I had tons of like,
ethnic.
Yeah, like I was the only white guy. Like it was full of Asians, full of Arab dudes. Like racial humor absolutely on the table for everybody. Right now, I'm surrounded by white people who are just so uptight, and I feel like the people that are the most uptight must be harboring the most racist thoughts.
Maybe, yeah.
This is my theory anyway, because like I am so open about joking about shit and always have been because of that experience, right?
Yeah.
And it's only now that like everything's getting, highly woke and whatever, that everyone's like, we need to bring all the races together and blah, blah, blah. It's like, but it's also funny. Like people are just missing a huge
Yeah, I think you kind of on the right track there, but I think what it actually is that specifically white people who are really uptight, they're the ones that grew up in just like really white communities, and they never had friends of different colors growing up, right? I think those are the really uptight people. I had the same situation you had. I had friends of all different races. Like the area I grew up in was very diverse. And yeah, sometimes I was the only white person, or the very least there was one or two other people in the group that was non-white. And it's just like, like racial jokes weren't an issue.
Well, that's the thing. One of the arguments now is like, that only white people can be racist, right? Like that's a very predominant thought. It's just like, you don't think when the one black kid came to our 2,200 Asian school, people weren't like, hey, we have a black guy now? You think I was the only one that noticed that? It's like every race was like, we have a black guy now. Yeah. We're legit.
We're getting into the whole, what's it called? Race theory, right?
I've never heard that term.
So the reason why they say only white people can be racist is because what I say right now is all in my mind bullshit. So don't take it as me advocating for this position. But what they believe is that racism can only occur in a position of power, right?
Right.
So what they say is only white people have power in North American society, so only white people can be racist.
Which is a stupid argument, because I literally saw a homeless guy yell at Filipinos in a McDonald's the other day.
Right.
So does he have power over them? No. You could say the Filipino people weren't hurt by, I mean, they actively laughed. Like they were like, I'm on my $2,000 phone laughing at you.
Yeah. And what these people would say about you is that you're a class reductionist.
What does that mean?
That means that you're only looking at the fact that the white person was poor and homeless and the Filipino people weren't, and assuming a power relationship based on purely economic class. You weren't looking at the intersection of all these different things like race and gender and all these other things, right?
There's so many concepts I can't even wrap my head around what people explain to me race is now, right? Because like I've only had my experience, which is I've never really, like, I'm not a like I don't see color person. Yeah. But it's rarely ever a thing that's on my mind unless there's a reason for it to be on my mind.
Yeah, yeah. I think the reason why you struggle with these concepts is because they're mostly bullshit, right? It's a whole lot of intellectual weaving and ducking to come to these conclusions that don't really stand up to scrutiny.
But like so take that example with their argument. What are they saying? Like, I'm only seeing because the money disparity, they couldn't be affected by it?
No, what they're saying is like, so their claim is that white people have power in our society, and that's what creates racism, right? So if a Filipino person says something about black people, he's being prejudiced, but he's not being racist, right? That's what their argument would be, right?
If a Filipino person say that one more time.
They're being prejudiced or they're being bigoted, but they're not being racist. Even though
The white person is not being racist?
No, if it's a non-white person being prejudiced towards another person based on their race, even though it's based on their race, because it's not a white person, they're not being racist. Because only white people have this institutional power in our society to wield racism. Right? It's garbage, right? But your example of a homeless white person as having no institutional power, they would say that you're being class reductionist because you're only looking at the fact that he's poor as evidence that he has no power, right? You're not looking at his white privilege.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's the fucking stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's a famous TikTok that's gone around where this guy from Singapore just like starts yelling at this white tourist.
Yeah.
He's like, "Get out of my country, you fucking poor white bastard."
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's like, and he's like, "Hello to you too, sir." Like he's a Canadian or whatever, just in Singapore. Yeah. Racism. I mean, just racists are racist to me. Like, it's like, there's no, I get that people can be ignorant, like for example, like white people going up and saying something stupid about a black person's hair or touching their hair or some shit like that, right?
Yeah.
I genuinely think those people are more morons than anything. I don't think they're like maliciously. It's like, as you said, like I had friends that grew up in like real, like, there was 12 people in their classroom and like they were the only person there graduating, whatever.
Right.
I remember like the first time one of those friends saw a dude, like this kid, we were just out playing soccer. He saw this kid and he's like, "That kid has to be from Africa."
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "He's so dark. He has to be from Africa." I'm like, "He's definitely not from Africa. He could be from Africa, but this kid specifically was absolutely not from Africa." And it's like I just feel like most people, it is out of pure ignorance. They're not like actually actively trying to be racist in their comments.
Right.
Like, it's just, it comes across as someone that's more or comes across racist to someone that's more informed, like myself, right? Like, I'm like, I've seen black kids like this my whole life. It's not a new thing to me.
Yeah, but I think that if you don't actively try to prevent racist attitudes, if you have an isolated group of people, that racism will come out of that because they're going to see themselves as being like a collective and people outside of that collective as being different, as being dangerous, as being sort of having the wrong way of living, right? That's just human nature. So for sure, if you have a white community that isn't exposed to black people and you're not teaching them racial tolerance, some of them are going to be racist just by it's a thing that it's always going to constantly have to be dealt with, right? You can't just get rid of racism once and then it's gone. It's going to keep cropping up in every culture on the planet, right? Because it's part of human nature, right?
Well, that's the thing. People always point to prison, right? Prison's the greatest example. It's like, I wouldn't necessarily be a racist or think about race. If I go to prison, I'm probably going to be thinking about race.
Yeah,
because
totally.
That's how it generally breaks up, right? It's like, they don't give a fuck that I like hip hop and maybe identify with their. It's like no. At the end of the day, it's like you're a fucking white boy, and you look like all these other racist white boys. So I'm not about to have a little tete-a-tete to make sure you're not a true racist white boy. Right?
Yeah, like my stepdad actually told me this story, which I thought was kind of humorous. They have a golden Labrador dog, right? And they take the dog out and it'll meet other dogs. Sometimes those exchanges are friendly, sometimes they're not. They can never really figure it out, right? But one time they got the dog from a breeder, right? So one time this breeder had like a reunion. So it's like all the dogs that we've sold come to our farm and just have a day, right? And my stepdad was like, not a single fight. This hundreds of these dogs get together and they're all playing and they're having a great time, but they're all the same race. He's like, they're a bunch of supremacists, these dogs. Right?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's how it goes, right? You see a thing that looks like you, and I guess in the dog's case probably smells like you, right?
Yeah. Same genetics.
Yeah.
Family and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, it's like multicultural. Like, it is the ongoing experiment. It never ends, right? Like, you're always going to have, people that, like, say you're 15 and say you're a black family and you have some white kid come spray paint the N-word on your building. Is like you're probably going to have more of a proclivity to hate white people, right? Or whatever. And like those experiences you can't really discount because it's like it's something that happened to you, right? Like if I got assaulted by a certain race, I'm probably going to be more wary of that race going forward. Yeah. It'd be ignorant of me to pretend that I think otherwise. Yeah,
like I definitely think people in those cases, they should attempt to sort of deprogram themselves from those attitudes, right? Like when I grew up, there were specific people from specific countries that were forming more violent gangs in my high school, right? And it was hard for me right out of high school to like not think things about that particular country, right? But over time I was like, no, it's not right to think that. There's a lot of good people coming from those countries, and yeah, like you can deprogram yourself
for sure.
Way, right?
And that is the thing, right? Like you do have to actively work on that. Yeah. Or you continue to have good experiences with said group. It doesn't even come down to race, right? Like this is like me and cops. Yeah, I have had very bad experiences with cops. My friend's dad was a cop. Prototypical asshole cop. He did terrible shit his whole career. Garbage person. Like I hate him. And like his son, like most cops' sons that in my experience hate their dads. Like they do not they do not talk to them after they're 18, right? And so but I also know there are really good cops, right? And so it's like it's my job not to just let the 2 times I've been arrested affect all my interactions with every future cop, because that will probably get me fucking shot. Right. But like, it's just not, it's not going to go well for me to not analyze those.
Yeah. And one interesting point that I think you bring up is that it's not always about skin color too, right? Like a lot of prejudicial behavior in our society can be based on pretty much anything, right? I've had people be suspicious of me because I was an atheist, right? I've had people who looked at me weird because I'm left-handed, right? I've had people be suspicious of me because I'm introverted.
I did not know you're left-handed, but now I'm suspicious of you.
Yeah, I'm sinister.
I've heard a lot about you lefties.
So
higher percentage of you are gay.
Oh, really? No, didn't know that. So yeah, I mean that is. I don't think as a society, like, why do we focus just on prejudicial behavior that occurs as a result of our skin color when there's so many other ways that we can judge each other unfairly, right?
Yeah.
And we do this all the time.
Oh, perfect example. Me in the kink community.
Yeah.
I assume that everybody in the kink community is super woke and nobody thinks like me, right?
Right.
Do I know that for a fact? No, I don't.
Yeah.
That's my prejudice, is that so far it seems like everybody wants me to be saying he, him.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
If
The one that really bothers me is the introvert extrovert one, right? Like as an introvert, I've literally come across job postings where people will say we're looking for outgoing people, right? It's a job that doesn't require you to interact with customers at all, but they're actively being prejudicial hiring against introverts.
Right.
But we don't make a big deal about that. We're just like, of course companies would want extroverts to work for them. Fuck those introverts. But if you put out a job posting that says we only want white people,
which someone did recently.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
you see that?
No, I'm sure people do that, but your company is going to get eviscerated for
Absolutely.
that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm absolutely with you. There's a lot of that, and that's, again, it goes back to the like hypocrisy and the people that are hyper focused on this one thing. Like, and that's also what I find with like anybody that I've really run into when they're hyper woke is like, you can't even maintain your own belief system without looking like a hypocrite. Like,
Yeah.
I will immediately see another situation in which you're being prejudiced towards people, a thing or something, and be like, but hey, you told me not to be prejudiced about this thing, but like, you really don't like black cats for some reason. Like, why don't you like black cats? It's like, well, I don't know, they're unlucky. It's
Yeah.
like, you've
Yeah.
proven that?
Right. Yeah, it's like our humans pattern recognition, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like we try to look for these patterns in life that maybe don't really exist, but we
my
just get
God.
convinced.
Don't even get me started on this. This is what my psychologist literally told me is my brain overactively does that. That's what it's been doing its whole life. Is like, she always says to me, you feel like you didn't get handed the rule book that everybody else in life did.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like,
right.
on how to operate, how to be, how to talk, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So she says to me all the time, because I'm always like, and that is how I think. I'm like, okay, maybe if I do this thing, those cars won't annoy me. Or maybe if I do this, like maybe I just need to talk to this like
Yeah.
figuring out these like little stupid patterns that definitely don't actually matter, right? But my brain is obsessed with trying to find these little solutions.
Yeah, that's weird that you say that, because I used to actively say that out loud when I was in junior high. I'd be like, did you guys all get a book that I didn't get on how to interact? Because it seems like you guys all know these rules that I don't know, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I've always felt constantly like that.
Yeah.
Anywhere I go, I'm just like, wait, you guys are all doing what? You're all saving for 401k? Who told you this? Like, I don't, I'm supposed to have how much by 30?
Yeah.
I don't know this, you know? Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that, because for you, it's more about like those kind of life skills, where for me, it was about socializing, right? It's like I felt like I missed out on the rule book on how to interact with other people, right?
What do you think would be the most beneficial thing to tell your 16-year-old self now about socializing?
I think the most beneficial thing would be to say literally that there is no rule book, that nobody knows what the hell they're doing, and they're just acting like they do, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would be what I would want to tell myself.
Faking it till you make it
Yeah.
kind of is a thing, I think.
Yeah, but it's also like some people are just, like some people are just more liked, right? Like some people, for whatever reason, people give a lot of give and a lot of forgiveness to the way they act because they just really like them for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at those people and you're like, what are they doing that I'm not doing? And it's like, it's nothing. They just have that look or whatever, or that way of walking that just clicks to people, right?
Yeah.
So don't try to find the algorithm, the secret formula for them because there isn't one. Right.
Mine's also, for the record, mine's way more about obsessing about social
Oh yeah.
than real world. Like it's way more about the social playbook. That's what she thinks I'm most concerned about. She's like, she tried to reiterate to me, like, you actually have very good social skills. You're just so in your fucking head about it that's usually what disconnects you.
Yeah.
Is when you start, like, for example, like the only scenario in which I have troubles with like just being my normal whatever is when there's stakes. So dating, right? That's when I start to get like, how am I supposed to act? How am I supposed to be? That's when I get really in my head. How am I supposed to respond to that? Right. And then the reason a lot of, I realized like my first dates didn't go anywhere. I wasn't attracted to people that I kept going on dates with. I don't know why I kept doing that.
Yeah.
That I had to learn. But the other thing was that I was not showing any of who I was. So like all I had ever heard was, when you go on a date, ask the girl a lot of questions, right? Because like the number one complaint is like a guy just monologuing about shit on the first. And so when I go on a first date, I'm now trying to shut down my propensity to just ask question after question after question so I don't have to share anything about myself. Yeah. Right? Because sharing about yourself is what helps you connect to other people.
Yeah, totally.
And makes the fun.
I've had that issue too. It's like, why are you interviewing me, right? You're just asking me question after question. It's like it can't work that way. It's like the question has to make sense within the context of what you're talking about, right? Which is a much, I think, harder thing to do. But I think the point that we're trying to make here is that the rules there's no hard and fast rules, right? It's almost like you have to, it's like the way you act. It's like if you act like this is how the situation should go, that's the way it's going to go. And everyone's going to look into that and say, yes, you're dictating the rules as the social event is playing out, right?
I used to hate people that were like, kind of the stereotypical like drinkers that were just like the hype up, like, we're going to have so much fun, just that over positivity, whatever. But as a 36-year-old, like now, I realized there was merit in that. Like setting the intention to have a good time really does propel most encounters to be a good time, right?
That's interesting. I never thought about that.
It's like how people say, like, I invite people to go walking at any time of the year, right? But there's certain people that say, it's too cold, or like they've come up with something stopping them, right? Yeah. And I'm saying, I'm going to go out and have a good time. I have clothes, I have whatever, I'll dress in an appropriate way that I will still go have fun, right? There's certain people that can't get on board with that let's go do it mindset. Yeah. I struggle with this in a lot of scenarios. It should be clear.
I don't know how I would react to that. I typically don't like it when someone says, let's go have a good time. I'm just like, let's go have a time. Right? Why do I have to?
You don't want the expectation.
No, it's like I don't want my emotions to be to have that kind of judgment on them. If I'm bored, if I'm upset, let me be bored and upset, right?
Yeah. I personally I've always been attracted to those people because I feel like such a negative person. I know that's not how most people see me. In general, I'm an optimist, right? Yeah. But like, I've always appreciated those people that have that delusional happiness shit. Reason being, it seems to work.
Yeah, it does, but I mean, it doesn't work on everyone, right? Some people really hate that, right? Like, yes, you're going to get a group of people around you that are kind of feeding on that positivity, right? But then there's going to be these people that are just seeing it as really inauthentic and they don't like it at all, right? And then the question is, which one of those people would you rather have in your group? The person that wants the positivity or the person that wants the authenticity, right?
But I don't think those people are necessarily excluded from being authentic. Like I met one person that I was like rooting for their downfall, like in my 20s, where I was just like, you can't be this positive all the time.
Right.
Like, you know, those people where it's just like,
Yeah.
I was the detractor where I was just like, you have to be lying or like beating your wife when you go home or some shit.
Yeah.
Not true. Just some people's minds, like they escaped childhood trauma, they escaped whatever, and their brains just work clear. And like those people are authentically themselves, even though to most of us it's like, you're full of shit, right?
Yeah.
Like in
really?
this, well, yeah, like in the same way that people are on the spectrum, right? Like I've never met purer people than the people I volunteered with, because they just do have such a positive, genuine outlook. There is no cynicism.
Yeah. So if people are genuinely like you say, completely devoid of cynicism and just exude positivity in the most genuine and authentic way, I can't fault that. Who could fault that, right? Yes. Let's be around those people, but if you don't have that, if you really do have complex emotions that sometimes you have to express, there's no point in suppressing those in favor of positivity, right? Just be the person that you are.
Yeah. This makes me, for some reason, think about... Okay, so I met a guy at a gaming group when I first came down here. Super rigid engineer type guy. I was trying to be friends with him. And he invited me over to some party at his house. It was just like, it was a real nerd fest. I realized that my friends are geeks. We're not nerds.
Oh yeah.
They were talking about like astrophysics.
Oh yeah. So my kind of
Sure. Shit that just absolutely was over my head, whatever.
Yeah, I know those people.
Anyways, they kind of had that like toxic, don't share real feelings, whatever. I was just really myself one day. Never heard from them again.
Yeah.
That's
That's exactly the kind of people, like the ones that I think about in my mind are the ones that every interaction has to be just joke after joke after joke, right? And as soon as you say something that is intended to be humorous, it's like those people, they can't handle it, right?
Yeah.
Those are the kind of people that really bother me. It's like, I like humor. Don't get me wrong. Like I like a good joke and all of that. I especially like jokes that make fun of how cynical and bittersweet life is, right? But I don't need everything to be a joke, right?
Yeah. Well, and like, I don't know if you experience this much as an INTP, but like two ENFPs talking, it also, same with INFJs. You can be talking about your father's death, immediately start joking, then slip back into talking about when your dog died when you're 6, then joke again, right? I know the people you're talking about, and I've also experienced that, where it's like, we're joke, and then I say something real, and they're just like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, the vibe, suddenly the vibe is
you
dead,
ruined
right?
the vibe, man.
Yeah.
It's just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, let's be real here.
I know, and that's the thing is like, I know what you're talking about. It's like when you're the kind of person who has and deals with negative emotions, you can go there and slip back out of it, no problem, right? And that's the kind of environment I'm more comfortable in. I don't want to be on tiptoes. Oh, I might say something that isn't super positive and is going to kill the vibe, right?
Yeah. Well, and yeah.
And even like the genuinely, like you were saying, the people that are completely clear-headed and are genuinely positive all the time, they're okay with the negativity as well. And what they do is they just crunch on it, bring it back to you in a positive way. Like they're like, oh, look at it this way.
Because they're
right?
so used to doing it.
Yeah, yeah. And great, do that, please.
Yeah.
Just don't judge me for being negative,
Yeah.
right?
I like to think of like incredibly charming people, like you know, John Hamm, for example.
Yeah.
John Hamm does not seem like he is inauthentic in any way.
Yeah.
Like he's a genuinely funny dude that's also able to slip in and out of serious conversations, right?
Yeah.
And it's like that is unbelievably charming to most people because he's authentically himself, but he also is a very positive person that is going to be able to bring others up when they're down.
Yeah.
You know, not in a forceful, terrible way. It's like the person feels heard, but it's a, you know.
Yeah, like did you ever watch 30 Rock?
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was on 30 Rock, and he played a character which is exactly like what you're talking about.
I don't remember his character.
Oh yeah, it was brilliant, right? He played this character that was just because he was so good looking and tall and all of those things. It's like he never had to deal with any negativity at all, and he was just completely unprepared for like Liz Lemon's, you know, messy life, right? And that was some of my favorite 30 Rock episodes.
I tried to rewatch it, but it wasn't a show that I could rewatch for some reason.
Oh really? I've rewatched it numerous times.
Oh really?
Yeah.
When you were talking about TV, I was just thinking of him on Curb now. So
Oh yeah.
God, I can't wait to see that new season.
Oh, are they still making that show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't like it?
I like it. I just I don't know, TV nowadays it's just feels like so much work, especially when it's a show that has like 11 seasons. I'm just like I don't even want to try to go through.
Really?
Yeah, that's how I am kind of now.
But you don't really. It's not really a show where you have to
Watch it.
It's
in
kind of like
sequence.
it's exactly like Seinfeld. You could just watch a random episode and it's going to be entertaining.
No, I know, but then I'm gonna feel like I'm missing out. Like I will watch an episode and I'm like, fuck, this is good, and it's like immediately I'm gonna want to watch it in sequence just so I don't miss an episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're just watching season 3 episode 16 and season 5 episode 8, it's like you're never going to be able to watch all of them because you're gonna miss a few, right?
Although, like back in the day when I first moved out, like 17, we just had one TV in the living room that was literally on all day long.
Yeah.
And that would be the gathering place. And it would just be, I think this is when TBS first started out. So it'd just be 24 hours of the same show. So it'd be like 24 hours of Seinfeld or 24 hours of, do you remember what MXC is?
No.
That was like it was like an Asian game show that they brought over to America, but then they dubbed their like hilarious shit onto it.
Oh yeah.
Like, here comes blah, blah, blah. He's a coal miner for the South, you know, some ludicrous premise.
Yeah.
Anyways, I had never watched Seinfeld in sequence, but when I eventually did, I was like, oh, I saw every episode except for maybe season 1 because kind of roundly hated.
That, you know, and that reminds me, I've always thought that platforms like Netflix should add a random feature to their shows. Like, yeah, give me a random episode.
Absolutely.
Right?
I would love that too.
Yeah, I could probably watch Curb that way if I got a random episode every time. Because, yeah, then it could just be like, oh, there's nothing else to watch. Throw on a random episode, right?
Well, and you bring up a good point because that also, it adds an element that doesn't really exist anymore, which is unpredictability.
Yeah.
Like now when I'm going into episode 2 of something or season 2 of something, I know it's going to be a continuation.
Yeah.
Right? It's always going to be, all right, well, Larry knows this person now and blah, blah, blah. Whereas if I watched a random episode, I'd be like, how the fuck did he get to know Leon? Like, where did Leon come from?
Well, and the other thing that we've lost is we never just stumble into a show, right? We're always intentionally clicking on, oh, this might be interesting. Back when we used to have cable, you would be channel surfing and you might hit a show that's already 5 minutes, 10 minutes in, and then you start watching it, right?
Right.
And like you might then we don't know what we're missing now because we're no longer doing that. Maybe there's a show that you would watch if you had been introduced to it that way.
Yeah.
That you would never click on if you saw it in a list, right?
Yeah. It really is friends of friends now, mostly.
Yeah.
Or you go seek out your own list, right?
Yeah.
What really highlighted how like niche all our viewing is now is there's like a 18-year-old draft pick for I think this was the NFL. You know, he's like, or I guess he's not 18, he's probably like 22. But they asked him, like, what do you think of, you know, this great player, right? That everybody fucking knows. It's like the, you know, Joe Namath or whoever, like for their club. And the kid's like, who? And all the reporters are just like taken aback. Like, how the fuck do you not know Muhammad Ali?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, because this kid has just been watching YouTube his whole life and in his certain lanes, right? Like, it's like, it wasn't his sport. Whatever the sport was that he was being talked about, he's like, I literally only watch basketball stuff. I don't know anything about hockey or baseball, or there's no cross anything anymore, you know?
Yeah, I mean, but I think that happens in generational divides all the time. Like, there's probably things that our parents were completely surprised that we had no knowledge of. That was so much a part of their cultural upbringing, right?
Yeah, but now there's no like collective thing that's going on. Like, I think that's why things like Tiger King, etc., are kind of like a blast from the past, because it's like something came out Sunday night and you talked about it Monday morning, right? Because it's
true.
Like, holy shit, did you see, you know, fucking Carol Baskin? You know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, my girlfriend watches a lot of TV, and it's like, holy shit, there's so much out there, right? It's like you can be completely immersed into a certain genre of television and like never run out of things to watch, right? So long as your bar for like quality isn't that high, right? You can really get into.
Although now, there's so much high quality TV, you can't possibly fucking watch it all.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
Definitely the I've changed my thoughts on watching TV in general and consuming media like that. I remember like 8 years ago, my brother read a book that was like, TV is a drug. It really, it's a drug.
Yeah.
And I now, as my brain gets healthier, I've noticed how much I gravitate away from doing anything that's long periods of time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I used to watch hours of TV. Like, I literally, for a year when I was 17, just woke up, put on cable, watched it till I went to sleep. Like, that's what I did for the entire year. Now, I'm starting to feel like I have all these pursuits I want to do. When am I going to get to do these if I am, you know, dedicating hours and hours to TV, right? And so, like, I'm even finding my obsessive compulsive thing around like finishing TV shows or seeing every episode is kind of diminishing as I'm like, this time's finite. I'm pretty sure I'll die by 46. So I have like 10 years to get all my hobbies in, right? And it's like, I haven't even started doing music shit. I want to do drum pad shit or learn drums. Like, I fucking loved playing drums, right? It's like, when am I going to do to that if I'm spending 6 hours a day watching TV? It's like, that's what I need to be doing this other thing.
Yeah, I am definitely on board with you on there. The only time I watch TV now is when I'm too tired. Like, I still have insomnia, like chronic insomnia. So sometimes like my energy by the end of my workday is completely tapped out. So I'm literally putting TV on just to pass the time, because it's like I have to go to bed at a certain time. My body really wants to go to sleep, but it's like, no, I need good sleep hygiene or whatever. So I'm forcing myself to get through the evening, and it's just a distraction.
Right.
But other than that, I don't like, the thing with TV is like, there's not, what happens as you get older is like the plots just don't seem that different.
That's
anymore,
true.
Right?
A film student friend of mine really killed TV shows and stuff for me back in the day, because he's the one that made me aware. He's like, look at this set design.
Yeah.
And from that moment, I was like, fuck you. Like, you broke the illusion
Right.
of TV for me. Like, I now see it as a set. And like, that's the thing that, like, when I get high, I only see actors on a stage now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so another person basically said, here's the five type of movies that are made. And I was like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Because it's just 5 tropey things. And so it is, you start to get bored by the same formula.
There's the hero's journey or whatever, right?
Yeah. But at the same time, as I mentioned earlier, I fucking love revenge. I've watched a revenge film every year for my whole life. It doesn't get boring to me, right?
Yeah, and I actually really like the hero's journey, the origin story type stuff. But yeah, I've seen that too. The one that really interested me was the sitcoms, right? A lot of sitcoms, there's a certain set of characters that really work well in sitcoms, and a lot of them have done it. Like The Simpsons, for example, right? Like Chief Wiggum, the kind of stupid cop character.
Fat cop, yeah.
Yeah, that gets done a lot, and it's because all those characters have just shown to work really well with each other in a sitcom setting, so it gets used over and over again, right?
Someone on TikTok recently broke down every crime show that's been on NBC for the last 20 years. And it's like, all right, do you have the nerdy scientist? Do you have the, like, and and they showed a picture of every scientist that's ever played that and I was like, holy shit, it really is that formulaic that, like, it's like, all right, we're definitely making the lab tech Asian. We're definitely making the, main character some handsome white dude. We're definitely making the partner some sassy girl, right? Like, it's like,
yeah.
Holy shit.
And the thing is, it's like, I think the solution, because I don't think people should just give up on all art forms because they're recycled. Like, that's just the nature of it, right? I think something like TV, you just need to have a fulfilling life out that you can engage in, so that by the time you're ready to sit down and watch TV, you're ready for your brain to just shut off. What happens is when you're using TV just to fill large amounts of time, your brain is just immediately going to start to notice these things, and it's not going to be enjoyable. Right?
And that is that's how I was using TV before, right? I was bored. I wasn't trying to get anything done or whatever, right? And it's like, now I actively have things I'm thinking about. It's quite scary to me, honestly, trying to adopt this new mindset, because, like, ever since I was 15, I just had suicidal ideation. So if you think you're going to kill yourself today, you don't really have long-term pursuits, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so now it's actually scarier to think, oh, I do care about this hobby and I do want to explore this, because it's like, what if I don't get to do it?
Yeah.
Right now, I've, like, my mindset's flipped, and so that's what's motivating me to not watch TV, not whatever. Is it's like, I kind of feel tired right now, but I could still be doing X hobby. I'm with you. At a certain point in the day, I am just too tired, and it's like, okay, like for me, it's like 7 or 8 o'clock. It's like I'm either hanging out with people or I'm watching TV or something, and I'm checking out until I go to bed. Right?
Yeah, and I mean, that's what I want to. That's why, like, I go to the doctor with these sleep problems, and I'm like, and they kind of like downplay. They're like, yeah, I mean, you got 5 hours. You're not going to die. And it's like, yeah, but I can't do anything in the evenings, right? Like, I need to have that fulfilling night's sleep, because otherwise I'm going to be miserable. I'm going to feel like my life sucks because all I can do is sit there and watch TV, right? Like, I don't think they appreciate how shitty that is, right?
Yeah, I got in the same argument with my therapist. She's like, it's not the end of the world if you don't get sleep. I'm like, I'm going to fucking murder someone the next day. I'm not like, hey, let's sit down and try to figure out how to arrange music. It's like,
exactly. Yeah,
I'm too angry. I'll get too frustrated instantly, right? Like, if you have a good sleep, you have a way higher threshold for patience and tolerance and people and the pursuits you're going after, right?
Yeah, totally.